Welcome back, everyone. I hope you're doing well. Today we'll be reacting to, you'll never guess, the most popular internet country code. What is a country code? Are we talking about like the .com, .au, EU, UK, whatever thing? I think that's what you're talking about. If you're not talking about that, I don't know what you're talking about. If you're new here, this is what we do. We learn. Let's jump in.
Welcome to Mapmen. www.welcometomapmen.com.
We're themen.org.
And here's the .map/titles.
Mapmen, Mapmen, Mapmen.
Today's programme is about a map of the internet.
Hang on, we did that last time.
Yes, but that was a different map of the internet.
Is it different enough that we won't repeat ourselves and the story will still feel completely unique and compelling?
Absolutely.
Oh, go on then.
This map shows all the registered CCTLDs on the DNS system.
CC what?
Ah yes. Before we get to the juicy map bit, we need a crash course in the internet. Strap in.
Oops. Back in the early days of the internet, when computers looked like this, people surfed the internet by painstakingly typing entire website addresses into the URL bar of a browser. The words in this web address are known as a domain name, and every single one is stored on something called the Domain Name System, or DNS.
Yep. The DNS does one very important job. It translates memorable website addresses into the horribly unmemorable IP addresses made up of numbers and dots that computers use to communicate and access websites.
This worked fine for the first few years, but as the early internet grew, it became clear that this system wouldn't be able to cope with demand.
In the 1980s, a California-based super geek called John Postel figured out a way of streamlining this clunky system, and what he did was so important it would eventually earn him the nickname God of the Internet.
God of the Internet? What?
John broke down the DNS into a hierarchical system that commands could flow through without getting all clogged up. And to make it work, every website now included something called a TLD, or top-level domain.
The TLD is the flourish after the dot that describes the type of website you're looking at. The first 6 to be included were .gov,
government-y,
.edu,
education-y,
.net,
internet-y,
.mil,
military-y,
.org,
relating to non-profit organs,
and by far most famously, .com.
commercially / absolutely anything.
Most computer scientists at the time felt that these 6 top-level domains was plenty to be getting on with.
But John Postel was no most computer scientist. He cleverly envisaged the future and predicted that the internet would spread around the world, one day being used by as many as 4,000 people.
So, to stop the
4 billion, 6 billion.
6 TLDs getting overcrowded with websites, in 1985 he invented a new subcategory, the country code top-level domain, or CCTLD. CCTLDs worked like the +44 dialing code you have to put on a phone number when calling the UK from abroad.
Like this.
The country code TLD is this bit, which comes before the slash, after the dot, and sometimes, depending on the country, after another TLD, such as the co in .co.uk or the com in .com.au.
The important thing is, the country code always has 2 letters.
Most people don't give a second, let alone a third thought to these codes, but because we love countries,
And because we have a vested interest in the internet,
we've gone and given at least 4 thoughts to them.
and it turns out country code top-level domains are a fascinating mess.
There are 195 UN recognised countries, so there should be 195 country code TLDs.
There's definitely not.
But there are 308!
What?
Why so many? Who was responsible for giving out all these codes?
Helpfully for our costume budget, it was John Postel again.
Rather than come up with a 2-letter code for every country himself,
Hopefully for our costume budget.
Which would have taken at least half an hour.
John took the easy route and found a pre-existing list, the catchily titled
ISO 3166-1,
which had been invented in the 70s for the purposes of post. And because it was for post, it also included a lot of islands that weren't strictly speaking countries. Some of the extra non-country country codes included Antarctica,
AC,
United States
There's an AC?
minor outlying islands, and St. Helena. St. Helena.
So the internet, just like the real world, was now divided into countries, and that didn't cause any problems at all.
or did it?
End of part 1.
How's the barbecue coming along?
Not good.
Why? What's happened?
I don't want to talk about it.
You don't want to talk about why the barbecue
Real man lives.
we commend you to
Therapy.
therapist has
sorry,
more than
I
no
missed
extra
it.
Goal.
speaking.
Food. And immediately ran into a problem. John Postel had just split the planet up into codes and immediately ran into a problem. This country.
The existing code from the ISO list was GB, but Britain already had its own academic network called Janet, which used .uk.
So, to save faff, he let Britain keep its non-ISO code .uk, which was very sensible because GB stands for Great Britain and excludes Northern Ireland and UK doesn't.
Incidentally, it took the driving in another country stickers people several decades to catch up.
Even more sensibly, Postel also predicted that in the future there'd be plenty more potential problems where this one came from.
So he set up the International Corporation for Assigned Names and Numbers, ICANN, in case I can't do the job anymore.
And it's a good thing he did, because after his ungodly death in 1998,
What? Oh my god.
his prediction of future disagreements came predictably true.
Some places that had no business being included on a list of country codes demanded to be added, such as the EU, which is in fact
Yeah, you're gonna have to sit this one.
several countries.
Another headache for ICANN was the world map kept changing. They had to add new country codes for new countries,
And they had to remove country codes for now defunct countries. Defunctories.
But one code they curiously didn't retire was .su, the Soviet Union.
even though the Soviet Union stopped being a thing in 1991 and the 15 countries it broke up into all got their own lovely codes in 1994, pressure from lobbyists who always quite liked the Soviet Union persuaded ICANN to keep the old Soviet domain, just in case.
Most are now nasty scamming sites, so if you're thinking about surfing the .su web, make sure your antivirus is good and up to date.
Oh, when can we look at that really interesting looking map?
Right away. This world map shows the size of each country adjusted to reflect the number of country code domain websites that are registered there.
Dang, there's a lot of German websites.
The first thing you notice is that some countries are alarmingly massively bigger than they are in real life. The UK, Netherlands and Germany, for example.
This shouldn't come as a surprise. After all, these countries are densely populated, with big economies and lots of computers.
Broadly, these three factors explain most of the weirdness, including the alarmingly asymmetrical North and South Koreas, or the relative smallness of Africa, which has fewer registrations than all of Germany put together.
But what makes this map truly fascinating is the anomalies that don't make obvious sense.
Such as the USA. Why is the world's largest economy so shrivelly small?
Because we use .com.
.us is, surprisingly, one of the developed world's least used CCTLDs.
The USA, which often considers itself the world's default country, has selfishly adopted the supposedly international TLD .com as their own.
As the inventors of the country code themselves, the way they see it, country codes are only required for websites that fall into the niche category of foreign.
Perhaps the
Pretty
biggest
much.
mystery is, what on this map of Earth is this massive island country with nearly 25 million domains, the highest of all, with the country code .tk?
That's not Turkey though. Or is it?
Turkey?
Turkey's not an island.
Torquay?
Torquay doesn't have a
Equivalent?
K.
So where is it?
Tokelau.
Never heard of it.
Neither have I.
Neither have you. Tokelau is a minuscule island chain in the Pacific with a
Kiribati?
total area of 4
Oh.
square miles, a fifth the size of Torquay. It's not even a country, but a territory of New Zealand, and the CIA says it has the smallest economy in the world.
It has the smallest economy in the world.
It's so remote that it was the last place on Earth to be connected to the telephone, in 1997.
So why does this place have more domains under management than anywhere else?
To understand that, you need to understand the most important rule when it comes to country codes.
Which is?
That there are no rules. It's up to each individual country to come up with its own policy for how its CCTLD is used.
Some countries are strict, only letting their own residents register, but others allow their CCTLDs to be used by anyone who wants them from anywhere on the planet.
So why do so many people want to use Tokelau's letters, and why does Tokelau want to let them?
Because money, and because money.
In 2001, a Dutch tech entrepreneur called Joost Zuurbier offered to pay the Tokelauan government to let him give away .tk domains for free in exchange for hosting ads. Win, win, win.
Unfortunately, this resulted in .tk being used for millions of temporary domains by spammers, phishers and cybercriminals.
Seen this domain so many times. Now I know where it's from.
Which is why, rounded up to the nearest 1%, 100% of all .tk websites are registered to people who are not really in Tokelau and have never actually been there.
As recently as November 2023, .tk's free domains were discontinued, meaning this map is already out of date, and Tokelau will have to find another way to literally put themselves on the map. But other countries didn't have to work so hard to get a similar slice of the action, because the 2-letter codes they got given were like a winning lottery ticket.
Just up the road from Tokelau, the tiny island nation of Tuvalu noticed that their two letters, .tv, might be very desirable to television and gaming websites. So in 1995 they started selling their domain to sites like twitch.tv, earning
That's insane.
them a handsome $10 million
That means Twitch.Tuvalu. Who felt that?
a year, even though less than half the country has access to the internet.
Meanwhile, in North Africa, the nation of Libya noticed that their letters, .ly, sounded like an adverb. So they sold their catchy sounding domain to sites like Bitly.
And Musically, which became TikTok.
The Federated States of Micronesia sold theirs to radio stations, Djibouti to their disc jockeys,
and a whole host of other countries that sound like things have been playing the same domain name fame game.
What this map shows best is that the success of a CC...
Of Africa, the nation of Libya noticed that their letters, .ly, sounded like an adverb. So they sold their catchy sounding domain to sites like Bitly.
The Federated States of Micronesia sold theirs to radio stations, Djibouti to their disc jockeys,
and a whole host of...
We missed one.
Other countries.
Gaming websites, yeah.
That sound like...
AI. Wait, Anguilla. I think that's in the Caribbean.
Things have been...
We missed LA. At IL. Okay.
Playing the same...
.me? Who thought Montenegro?
Domain name fame.
I'm missing some of these, but it's...
game.
Wow.
What this map shows best is that the success of a CCTLD is a reflection of that country's power, history, governance, and good luck. And name.
But what staring at this map makes us wonder is, why should the internet even need country codes? Isn't the idea of dividing the planet by nation states so 20th century and the opposite of what the internet is supposed to be about?
The answer is, who cares? These days, it's perishingly rare that you ever find a website by typing in the URL yourself. With such little attention paid to the URL, it might as well be random letters and numbers that only computers understand, just like it used to be.
And this may well be why nonsensical TLDs have been allowed to flourish, and not just the country codes.
The 6 TLDs we started with have now expanded to 1,500, and they're no longer limited to 3 letters, allowing such terrific specifics as .cat, .ninja, .pizza, and .unicorn. So who knows what TLDs and CCTLDs will look like in the internet of a billion years in the future.
Well, if it carries on like this, there probably won't be any typing at all, and the internet will just come at you like wasps.
Beautiful, beautiful video. Understandingly, so CCLDs don't matter unless they matter to your country. They don't matter globally. Thank you guys so much for watching. I appreciate every single one of you. Leave a recommendation below if you have one. Subscribe if you haven't already. Peace out. Goodbye.